Okay, B'siyata D'Shmaya, we're here in Sha'ar HaYichud in Tzfat, and we are going to be continuing in the gates of the Baal Shem Tov. We're in the 9th gate, Yanuka Tefilah, the pleasantness and delight that comes out of prayer. And we have a few teachings here that we're going to focus on today. First one, from Tzvat Arivash, from the will of the Baal Shem, Devar sheyotze min halev nichnas balev. We have a famous saying in Judaism, words that come out of the heart go into the heart. Baal Shem Tov says, which heart? Balev Elyon, in the supernal heart. Bina, the place where everything comes together in Shemaim, and then it affects the rest of Am Yisrael. So when we speak from the heart, not only does it affect the heart in front of us that we're speaking to, or the hearts in front of us that we're speaking to, it goes into the supernal heart up above and makes much of a more profound impact. Another teaching from there as well in the Torah Magid. צריך האדם ללמוד ולהרגיל את עצמו שיתפלל אפילו בזמירות בקול נמוך. This is a interesting teaching that people don't understand how it came from the Baal Shem Tov. But we're going to say it. It's rooted, if you want to see it in more depth, it's rooted in Keter Shem Tov, Kuf Samech Vav, 166 in Keter Shem Tov. But here it's brought in just out of that same thing that's written there, but without all the explanations. We'll go into it a little bit. A person needs to get used to praying even the Zmirot, meaning Psukei de Zimra, with a very low voice. Kol namuch, with a low voice, not screaming out. Ve'itzak belachash, he should scream out in a whisper. Yitzak belachash. Ve'yomar hadavar ben Zmirot ben belimud bekol kocho, and whether you're learning or you're praying, you say with all of your might, all of my bones will say it out to Hashem. All of my bones, what does that mean? All of my might I put into it, into my Tefilah. The scream that comes out of being in a state of Dveikut, that's a deep attachment with Hashem, it will be quiet. It's a whisper. So what do you see from this? According to the Baal Shem Tov, when a person has high levels of connection to Hashem, then they don't need to be making so much noise. And they don't need the external passion and excitement, right? I made a video not too long ago, it hasn't come out yet, but someone asked me to make a video in Jerusalem with them about shuckling, about the fact that Jews sway back and forth. And it's true. You look across the Haredi world, the religious Orthodox world, and you see that when Jews pray, right, and when they learn, they shuckle. It's okay. It's a natural thing. It's good. It's plays. There's even sources for it in halacha and in all different places. But the Baal Shem Tov said this as well. This is also true. When we're trying to get into our prayers, so then yes, it makes sense. So you're trying to hold on to your focus. So you sway and you're trying. It's a physical mechanism that helps you to keep your mental state of attachment to Hashem. But what if you were to really be, like really in your mind, you saw yourself standing in front of the King of Kings? Like actually, really, you're in front of God. Would you be?
No,
would you just be standing in front of Him like this, playing with the peyot, like messing with the beard, clapping your hands in His face? What would you be doing? Right? Most likely, the closer of a reality that you have where you see yourself in front of God, the less you move, and the less you need to raise your voice, and the less you need to scream. The more it becomes a whisper. So the Baal Shem Tov was always about the inner world. And it's very interesting that his students, Balatanya, Rav Itzhak Rafael, many of them, of the generations that came after the Baal Shem Tov, were very, very out there, right? But it's known the Arizal also. The Arizal would pray very quietly, you could barely hear him, and on Shabbat he would raise his voice a little bit. So there is some idea here of, again, one, we're talking in front of the King of Kings, Hashem. It's funny, there's a Chassidut called Karlin, and they're known for their screaming. Their whole prayer is all screaming. And once a Karliner Chassid was, screaming, and a guy said to him, Hashem can hear you. Whether you scream or not, He hears you. So he says, I don't scream for Hashem, I scream for myself. I need to scream so I can hear myself. So it's not coming to judge anybody. Obviously the Baal Shem Tov wasn't coming to judge anybody. But the Baal Shem Tov was saying, be aware, be conscious that as you grow in your avodat Hashem, and the closer and closer you get to Hashem, and to a mindset that Hashem really is everywhere, you don't need to scream as much. You don't need to move as much. You're there. You're there. It's an important thing to know. One thing is for sure, when we're in a synagogue, we have to read the room. We have to read the room. Yeah, okay, Breslovers want to clap their hands and sigh out, but if no one else in the room is doing that and everybody's in Amidah, so you can't really clap your hands. And you can't really do weird breathing noises. Everybody's in a state of intimacy, quietly in the room in the middle of the Amidah. It's a silent prayer. It's called the silent prayer. Don't make noises now, because that's what we do. No, don't do it. Respect the room. You're one out of a whole entire minyan, and now you want to start. You can't do that. The person next to you didn't need to clap. You needed to clap. So this is also included in what Reb Nachman said. He didn't mean that you have to make noise. He said to clap your hands. This does the same effect, and no one hears it. So these are things that we have to be aware of, because if the person next to you is in a level of Dveikut and you take him out of it because you needed to clap, so what did you exactly just do then, right? Teaching from the Toldot Yaakov Yosef and Parashat Tazria. Od yesh lefaresh al pi ha'amud ba'avoda be'inyan ha'tefilah al pi ma sheshmati mimori. We have to explain what is this idea of standing in the amud, right? This duchan, what's the thing called that you put the big stender? Podium, right? Where you pray in front of for the podium, right? Podium, that's what's called?
Yeah, podium. Or pulpit.
Right? The pulpit, the podium, right? כי יש שצריך להתחזק תחילה קודם התפילה כדי שיהיה לו מוכין להתפלל בלי מחשבה זרה. על כל פנים מאוד בדבקות, והוא על ידי מזמורים. When a person comes to pray in the morning, right? Forget the podium. I misunderstood the words and where he was going with it. But a person comes to pray in the morning, so you have to prepare yourself. You can't just come off the street and walk into shul. Most of us are living very mundane lives or very this world modern lives, and you come inside to have unity with God. You have to transition from this world to the other world, right? And it's a bit hard to do it if you don't do any preparation into your prayers. And really, it's impossible to say you got into the Amidah straight, like you put on your tefillin and boom, all of a sudden you're there. It takes a little bit of time of preparation. So that time, really, when we talk about Tefilah and halacha, we have to know it's just the Shmonaisa, it's just the Amidah. Everything else, we call it Tefilah, it's part of Shacharit or Mincha, but those are preliminaries. Tefilah, when you look up Ilchot Tefilah, the laws of Tefilah in Shulchan Aruch, it's only talking really about the Amidah, leading up and after the Amidah and during the Amidah. Why? Because that's what's called Tefilah. Everything before that is, so to say, preparations. Right? Nowadays, Shacharit is called from Akedah until Aleinu. The whole thing is called Shacharit. But because we see it that way in our generation, we already accept it that way. We call Shacharit an hour-long prayer. Really, Shacharit and Mincha and Arvit is the exact same thing. They have little different preliminaries and things that we say before and after, right? But so everybody needs to prepare. And there's the Mizmorim, Psukei de Zimra, Korbanot, all of these other things that we have inside of our Siddur leading up to the Amidah are all preparations. And for some people, that's enough. Or they start to learn some Torah, right? The Baal Shem Tov instituted that he wanted the Chassidim to learn a piece of Zohar before the Amidah, before Tefilah in the morning, before Shacharit. Chabad still keeps up this tradition, right, of learning Chassidut before Shacharit. It's a good minhag, right? Why? Because again, you're preparing yourself to stand in front of the king. And by way of that, you stand to pray. When you have your mind already filled with Divrei Torah, your mind is already on pure things, Shalom Aleichem, and then from that place, you're able to now stand in front of the king. So Tefilah takes preparation. It takes preparation. So it's either you're going to learn a little bit of Torah like Chabad still does to this day, other people should as well, or you go do embodied. You do something in order to clear your mind so that now you can come and approach the king. Katuv b'Shem Baal Shem Tov. It's written in the name of the Baal Shem Tov. Came from the Chernobyl Rebbe's. Shetzivah la'nashav shekodem kol tefillah yilmedu ma'amar Zohar. This is exactly what we're saying right now. The Baal Shem Tov wanted that all of his followers, before they come to pray, right, they should learn a little bit from the Zohar. One more. Whoever has intention with all the intentions that he knows in his prayer. He comes to pray and he does all the intentions that he can. אבל כשאומר התיבה בהתקשרות גדול, נכלל בכל התיבה כל הכוונות מעצמן ומלאהן. When you come to do let's say you know certain intentions. You know some of the things that you're meant to have intention beyond the simple meanings of the words. When you do that, you're not only doing what you know. You're doing everything above what you know, everything below what you know, everything that you didn't know. Everything gets included in that. שכל אות ואות הוא עולם שלם. Every single letter, right? And most of the intentions that you can do are permutations of letters. Every single letter is a whole entire world. You put a few of those letters together, you're building giant worlds that you don't even know. Inside of a world is many, many facets, not just what you knew. There's much more there. When you say it with now big connection to Hashem, you come to connect to Hashem by way of that word, by way of the letters that make up that word. It says in the parasha, in Noach, right? V'tzoar tasim lateva. Taseh lateva. Make a window, make a gem for the teva. What's a teva? Ark. But it's also a word. Teva also means word. So what does it mean to make a window or a gem for the teva? Put light inside your words. Put light inside what you're saying. Say it with passion, say it with connection. And when you say words with connection to Hashem, you arouse all of the upper worlds that are hidden behind that word. Right? You don't know all the intentions, all the kavanot. You could never know all the kavanot that the Mikubalim and the Hashem and the tzadikim and the Nevi'im put inside these words. But when you connect to Hashem strongly, and by way of that word, you use that word, right? Baruch Ata. All of a sudden, you're downloading everything that's inside those worlds. And that has a big effect on you. What allows you in? What's the key to get in? Not all the yichudim that you don't know. Or it's going to take you forever to learn. It's your heart being connected to Hashem. Your heart being connected to Hashem while you're saying the words going to arouse all of the yichudim and all of the intentions and kavanot that are there. Therefore, a person should see that they should pray with connection and with great passion. For sure, if you pray that way, you'll have a big effect above, because every single thing that you do has a huge arousal in the upper worlds. Every single word and every letter has big light inside of it. So what do we see from this? A person doesn't need to know all of the Kabbalistic intentions behind their prayer. It's enough to know a little bit of them, to have intention to connect to Hashem in a strong way, and to say with all of your passion. If you pray in that way, you have the ability by way of your passion and your connection to Hashem to arouse all of the hidden secrets inside of there. That's what it comes down to. Do we put our all into it? We showed up to Shacharit. Okay, we're here. But can we put our meaning into the words? And it's hard. It's not easy. It's not easy to do this consistently through Torah learning. It's not easy to do this 3 times a day when you're praying. Shacharit's an hour long, 120 pages around. To have intention in every single letter there is nearly impossible. But the more you do it from a place of trying to connect to Hashem, the more you're going to arouse all of these special lights and worlds that are above, and all of the shefa that's inside there. When you start to tickle that world, you start to shake that world, it all starts to come down on you. So put your all inside your tefillah, inside your Torah learning, and B'ezrat Hashem, by way of that, you'll shake up all of the worlds up above, and it'll come down. But just don't forget that nowhere does it say that this has to be done with screams. The Shem Tov says the more Dveikut you have, the quieter you are when you pray. The less it's recognizable outside. There was a Rebbe from Lubavitch, the 3rd or 4th Rebbe, I can't remember who it was, but he didn't move a lot when he was praying. He stayed very, 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 very still, very like cold Tefilah, but he had to change his clothing a few times of how much he was sweating inside. Why? Because this is exactly what the Baal Shem Tov was saying. He was so attached and so much passion from such a place of closeness that you didn't see it externally. He didn't have to be moving and doing all of that and all of the show. He didn't have to do it. Not that I'm saying everybody that does it is a show. Sometimes it's very genuine and very real. Right? But he didn't need to be there. He had such intense internal connection that he was sweating bullets while praying. He had to change his clothes throughout the day from sweat, from Avodat Hashem. But you never saw him move. True Dveikut. in a high level. Is that Hashem, and we all be zoche to taste from this.